Who are the drivers looking for a way onto the F1 2025 grid, and what changes could we see in 2024 silly season? Let's talk about it. From F2 champions to reserve drivers, landing an F1 spot is a difficult task. F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport and as a result is one of the hardest sports to break into. With just 20 spots on offer, drivers looking to get into the competition might find it incredibly difficult to secure a route in, and even begin starting an academy program is no guarantee. So from F2 winners to former F1 drivers, here are 8 drivers looking for a 2025 seat. First up is Mick Schumacher. Schumacher is the only driver on this list to have had a permanent F1 seat, but he is also perhaps the one least likely to get another go. The problem with Schumacher is that he's a known quantity, whereas the others have exciting potential and questions yet unanswered. The Formula One world would largely want to know what Schumacher is all about. However, we've already seen it. It was at Haas where Kevin Magnussen, an experienced driver by no means a world beater, comfortably outscored him, and it was a telling thing that no one came calling for him at 2023. He will at least be driving for Alpine in the WEC, but it is hard to see a route back to F1 for the young German. Next up, Liam Lawson. Of all the drivers on the list, Liam Lawson looks the most likely to reach the promised land. Red Bull have all but guaranteed him a seat in 2025, but the only question is where? The obvious destination would be AlphaTauri, with Daniel Ricciardo either moving up to Red Bull or out of the sport, and Yuki Tsunoda likely to remain in place until the partnership with Honda ends. But could a move come sooner? In theory, if Red Bull opt to remove Sergio Perez before the end of 2025, a seat will most likely be open at RB, which Lawson will be the prime candidate for. He could even go on loan to another constructor, say Williams, if Logan Sargent does not improve before returning to the Red Bull family, similar to George Russell's path at Mercedes. Up next, Theo Pourchaire. Winning F2 used to give you a good chance of moving into F1, but these days the reality is rather different. Of the 5 most recent F2 champions, it is only Oscar Piastri who has a seat for 2024, and while the likes of Nick de Vries were given a chance, it was not immediately after their success. Pourchaire faces a similar situation to recent F2 champions of not having an obvious route to go. He is a Sauber Academy product, which suggests a seat will be open to him in time, but Valtteri Bottas looks to be going nowhere for a while. That would mean Zhou Guanyu stepping aside, which does seem possible, with rumours that Sauber were even debating bringing in Pourchaire for this coming season at the expense of the Chinese driver. A tough one up next, Felipe Drugovich. Drugovich is Theo Pourchaire, but a year further down the line, having won F2 in 2022 and then signed with Aston Martin as reserve driver later that year. In 23, he got a good amount of time in the car due to Lance Stroll's pre-season injury, but it has yet to translate into race action. In 24, he will fulfill a similar role, but with Fernando Alonso looking likely to extend beyond this year and Lance Stroll's contract status unknown, the Brazilian may have to look elsewhere for an opportunity in F1. Now, another IndyCar favourite, Pato O'Ward. O'Ward is the most experienced driver on this list, having completed 4 full seasons of IndyCar racing and also a significant portion of the time in an F1 car with McLaren, but like the others, there is not an obvious route into F1. He is part of the McLaren driver development program, but both of the current McLaren F1 drivers are younger than the Mexican. It would seem likely then that he will stay in IndyCar for at least the near future as he looks to earn that title ambitions into silverware. Up next, Colton Herta. Herta's F1 future seems to be very much linked to that of Andretti's, with the 23-year-old all but assured a seat should the American family be given a spot in F1. But the problem is a super license. As of right now, Coulter has 22 points, which is 18 short of what he needs to be granted one. It is of course a situation Herta is familiar with, having Red Bull sought to use him last season only to be rejected by the FIA. Andretti will not be entered in the 2024 season, meaning Herta has at least one more year to boost his points total, but the problem is that IndyCar is valued so poorly by the FIA. To be eligible for a 2025 slot, Herta would need to win the whole series, which, considering he finished 10th in the last 2 campaigns, is a tough task. Moving on to Victor Martins. Brimming with talent and bringing a youthful touch to a team, I expect Martins to be one of the first names to step up to a lesser known team from the Alpine Driver Academy. Martins has already shown plenty of promise in his rookie season in Formula 2 as he sits 5th in the standings. His feature race win at Silverstone, despite copying a penalty, was a sign of raw speed and talent that he possesses. He could leapfrog even the favourite Jack Doohan and bag a lucrative Formula 1 seat. Andreas Kimi Antonelli. A feeder series giant who will make the step up to the pinnacle of motorsport. The Mercedes Junior making waves in the feeder series may just step up as a junior partner in 2026. Antonelli boasts a stellar karting resume and currently races in the Formula Regional European Championship, FRECA. The Italian is even rumoured to move to Prima in Formula 2, skipping Formula 3 altogether. Such is the talent that he possesses, and he could well be fast-tracked into Formula 1 for the new era, if not 2025. It's never too early to look to the future, and while the 2023 silly season was something of a damp squib, expect 2024 to be something fairly livelier. A repeat scenario is unlikely for 2025, with no fewer than 14 drivers entering the final year of their contracts. We could be in store for a dramatic shake-up to the F1 grid over the coming months as teams and drivers weigh up their options for the future. Here are 5 moves that could blow the driver market wide open. First up, Norris to Red Bull. Lando Norris is contracted to McLaren until the end of 2026, but that hasn't stopped speculation forming about the highly rated Brit. Norris has previously been linked to Red Bull before McLaren's mid-season transformation in 23, and Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has made it known that he had held exploratory talks with Norris in recent years. With the seat alongside Max Verstappen up for grabs in 2025, when Sergio Perez's contract expires, could Norris be Red Bull's answer? The 24-year-old is an attractive option outside of Red Bull's own driver pool that could lock down their driver lineup for many years to come. I think McLaren have something to say about that. Albon to McLaren. If McLaren were to lose Norris to a rival team, they would have a gaping hole to fill alongside Oscar Piastri. Step forward Alex Albon. The British tyres rebuilt his career and reputation following a difficult spell that saw him demoted from Red Bull and momentarily lose his place on the grid altogether. Albon has spearheaded Williams' recent charge and has been one of the most consistent and standout performers since joining the British outfit in 22. While Albon is flourishing in his starring role at Williams, a return to machinery closer to the front of the grid would surely be too tempting to let him pass by. His stock only begins to rise and it's likely he will be a wanted man. He would surely be close to the top of most teams' lists come the change of drivers. Now next up, Perez to Williams or Alpine. If Perez lost his seat and became a free agent, the highly experienced 33-year-old would likely be inundated with offers from midfield teams. While too many bridges have probably been burned to facilitate a return to Aston Martin, the likes of Alpine, Sauber and Haas could all be on the lookout for a new driver. Perez would also be a great option for Williams if they need a replacement for Albon. However, after spending 3 seasons driving front-running machinery, it remains to be seen whether the 6-time Grand Prix winner and 35-time podium finisher would be interested in dropping down the field. A fun one next, Ocon to Sauber. Esteban Ocon could be another major player in the driver market with his Alpine contract up at the end of the year. There has been no suggestion that either party wants anything other than to continue their partnership, but might Ocon be interested in another team comes calling? Now, according to F1.com reporter Lawrence Barretto, Ocon is one of a number of drivers being assessed by Sauber CEO Andreas Seidel as he looks to move the team up the grid ahead of Audi's takeover in 2026. As the Alpine continue to flatter to deceive, the lure of German giants Audi might just tempt Ocon to jump ship. Tsunoda to Aston Martin. Aston Martin have made it very clear that they want Fernando Alonso to stay, but they will need to find a replacement if the double world champion decides to hang up his helmet at the end of 2024. Yuki Tsunoda has found himself linked to Aston Martin, with Honda joining forces with the team as their new engine supplier in 2026. Now, if there is no room at the Red Bull senior team for the foreseeable future, Aston Martin may be an appealing destination for Tsunoda. Honda have nurtured and backed Tsunoda for many years, and the Japanese driver appears tied to their plans. Perhaps a switch could come earlier if Alonso decided to walk away. How do you think the F1 25 grid will look? Who will be your driver lineups coming February 2025? Do you see a big shift, or will most drivers stay in their current seats? Let us know what you think in the comments, and remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. Keep the pedal to the metal, and I'll catch you in the next video.